So, well, somebody wants to know, like, what made you decide, since you do seem to have your disagreements with the party, and your platform is certainly to the left of the party. Well, they don't really have a platform, so I guess it's just, you have a platform, so that makes you
Yeah,
different right away. But
yeah.
what made you decide to dem enter as opposed to running independent or as a third party?
Because I'm right. Because we're the ones that are real Democrats. All the corporate establishment ones are not the ones behaving the way they're supposed to behave. So if they've got a problem, they should leave. Why should I have to leave the party that actually represents the values that I stand for? Because they're so busy kissing ass to corporate interest, and they're too busy meeting with lobbyists versus meeting with the public and passing bills for them. So it was really simple. When I took a look and I said, what are Democrats supposed to stand for? I took a guy like Jimmy Carter, who's a real humanitarian, who cares about the people, who he would give the shirt off of his back, who at 94 years old, he's still building houses for the homeless. And I said, that's the guy that we're supposed to be like. Not like the Clintons. We're not supposed to be like the Clintons. We're not supposed to be like Barack Obama and drop 20,000 bombs on Yemen or any other country for no reason. So I said, why would I leave? This is my party. I'm going to take my shoes off and get comfortable. They can leave if they're not happy with it. So we did have that whole option to dim exit, but it's just a lot easier to steal a car than it is to build a car. So we're going to steal the car back, and they can leave if they want.
In as far as values and principles go, I'm with you 100%. Unfortunately, in orchestration, it's not going that way. And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
would love to see that change, of course.
yeah,
And one thing I would tell you, Jimmy Carter recently came out against single payer. So,
yeah. So well, I'm saying it from a humanitarian standpoint.
No, I
This
understand.
is yeah,
Uh-oh.
this is what the guy this is politics. But like I said, this is what I've said Democrats are supposed to stand for. We're supposed to stand for the people, and we haven't stood for the people. So why would I leave if that's my message and that's what the party's supposed to stand for? All those other people that have corporate interests instead should be the ones, not
All right.
us.
Sorry, we're getting you dropped out a little bit there. Yeah, I see what you're saying. I
Okay.
mean, and I've actually had a similar conversation with
Yeah.
Rokana where I was just telling him, I'm like, Ro, what should be happening is because you have the policies people like. 92% of people that identify as Democrats, like Bernie Sanders' platform, want progressive change in this country. The establishment Democrats who are completely out of touch, have no policy ideas whatsoever, they should be going to the Ro Khannas and the James Alias and the Maria Estradas and the folks like that. And they should say, how can we keep our jobs? Because we don't want to lose our jobs. How can we keep our jobs? What do we need to be on board with? Cory Booker should be Andrew Gillum should influence Cory Booker, not the other way around. It's the other way around, though. Cory Booker is influencing Andrew Gillum. And that's part of the problem. And unfortunately, it's set up to work that way via mechanisms like the DCCC, via mechanisms like what you just described earlier. Via mechanisms like the DNC and super delegates. Yes, we have seen some reforms, but it's not enough. So, I understand someone like you're running for office. You don't, you have to make that judgment call, and I get it. But, I think in the long term, I wish we would have started a new party when we had a chance. And I think that real change is going to happen not solely at the electoral politics level at this point. I think it's going to happen outside via a strong united labor movement and via, other groups that are cause oriented and kind of underrepresented parties that are going to be loud and very loud, and they can't be ignored. FDR, he was a moderate that saw the writing on the wall and said, listen, rich friends, you're either going to give up a little or you're going to give it all up. The choice is up to you. And he did that not because he was, he wanted to do it. He did that because labor was loud as hell and they weren't going to take it. Socialist groups were loud as hell and they weren't going to take it. Communist groups were loud as hell and they weren't going to take it. The way I see it, we got to do that again.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if there is to be an uprising and there is to be another party, I think it's going to be the Labor Party. It seems like it's the most organized and the one that meets our values the best. So you're absolutely right on that. The only thing I would say is I'm not ready to throw in the towel on the Democratic Party, just because I've seen how much power, now that I've been in the belly of the beast, the California Democratic Party holds a lot of cards when it comes to fundraising, when it comes to working with legislators. They make a lot of decisions. And Eric Bauman, the party chair, he's a very powerful guy. And so the one thing that I will say is you've had all these progressives running in California, and all of them have lost or is losing. You know, there's a handful of people that got through. Myself, my sisters, Maria Estrada, Jovanka Beckles. Now, here's the thing: if we lose, we've now taken over, because we're all going to be ex officios. We're all going to get to appoint people, and we're all going to have a lot of say in the party, and we can actually take back the party and get progressives elected within. So we can end the whole money funneling system and all that stuff. So I think there is some change that we can instill. Plus, if Bernie's on a 2020 ticket, I think we take over easily. But if not, then start sending me some pamphlets on the working class party. So
no, I mean, hey, man, I mean, you know, we got to throw everything we can at the wall. So I certainly, you know, I mean, my thing is I support progressives wherever they are, whether they're, you know, I mean, if I like a candidate, they're running as an independent, I'll vote for them. If they're Dem entering, I'll vote for them. If they're running as a Green, I'll vote for them. You know, I'm kind of just policy over party. And I think we gotta try everything. You know, did I want to see Bernie start a third party in 2017? Yes. I showed up in DC to try to convince him to do it. He didn't. And, you know, I still think we need a new party, but I know it's not going to happen in 2018 or 2020. So it's like, well, how do we get there in the long term, or how do we have an acceptable substitute in the meantime? And I think that, you know, there is something to be said for, you know, Dem entering, trying to hijack the party from within. But I think something like that can't be successful without something outside of the party happening. So, you know, when Bernie's been saying for years, we need something outside the Democratic Party, I think that's like what he's referring to. And that's what needs to happen. You need to have this movement outside of it.
Absolutely. I mean, any movement has happened from an uprising with the citizens. So you're absolutely right. So,
short of another financial crash, the Dems won't give up their part in the duopoly. And if they did, what would their financials backers do? What would it take for the left to take over the Dems? I feel like we kind of touched on this, but if you want to, you know, sort of reiterate what you think needs to happen.
So this one, I mean, we talked about the best case scenario where there's just this uprising and the citizens are so united together that it's this organic movement that goes on and it all sort of comes together. I think that would be fantastic. But if we're talking about what I think it would actually take, what it would take is to get some serious work out of progressive candidates elected. And I'm talking about actually phone banking and going and canvassing and doing all this stuff, working with the money that you have. And like I said, focusing on the operations of your state and county parties. So like I said, if you control the state and county party, you control what they do with their mailers, you control what they do with their messaging. And it's totally easy to take over a county party. If you have 25 good friends, you could take over a whole county party. If you had a few hundred people.
Do you have 25 good friends?
On the campaign trail, I've got 25 pretty good friends now. So yeah, it was before I didn't have 5 good friends. But you know,
I don't believe that. You're a very personable guy. You're running for office. You seem very sincere and genuine. I'm sure you had more than 5 friends.
Well, I appreciate it, Ron. You're such a nice guy, man. Thank you. Here's my thing. Once you take over your county parties and your state parties, you have all the say. You have all the votes, and you decide how the party is going to be ran. So it's very simple. If you want to take over the Democratic Party, we have to do it step by step. You start with your county party, you move to your state party, then you move to the DNC. So the DNC is going to be the toughest one. But if we can get, you know, California to be progressive, Nevada, Oregon, Washington, if we can get those 13 states all over here to actually get together and become progressive, we take over the DNC. So that's how we do it. So if you want to do it, run for your local county party central committee or run as an ADEM and let's take it. Let's take the party.
All right. I mean, hey, like I said, we got to try everything. So, you know, I when I see progressives run for office, I give the thumbs up, and you know, I certainly want to see, you know, but for me, I'm never going to run for office. That's not the ship I belong in. So for me, it's kind of like causes outside, and that's gonna, you know, we scratch each other's back. It's like we're two ships heading in the same direction.
Absolutely. And you nailed it too. I've said Democrat quite a few times. That doesn't mean that you vote for the Democrat every time. You vote for the progressive every time.
Yeah.
So, you know, like my boy Kenneth Mejia, I mean, people gotta support Kenny too. And like I said, I'm a state delegate. I could get in trouble for supporting Kenny, but I welcome you to discipline me because I'm gonna support Kenny. So,
dude, man, whenever a guy with your forearms and tattoo says, "I welcome you to discipline me," the other person's probably gonna step back.
I know, right? Well, let's hope so, because if they challenge me, they'll know I'm just full of shit and I'm just talking crap.
Love it.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and